Hello and welcome to a new Google Sheets tutorial in Practical Sheets. Today we're going to continue with our project of the event generator. I'll leave you the link for the first video, but what we did is we created some events in Google Sheets that had a title, a date, a location, a speaker, and we went step by step on creating a single event, and then we ended in creating all the events we had. When we created an event, we checked or we changed this cell to event created. So the next time we run the script, it would only create when this was not checked, when this was empty. Lastly, I created a custom menu so I could run my event generator from here. So this is my wish list. What I want to do in these and following videos, I want to create one event. This means that I only did the function that creates all the events that are not checked, but it would be nice to have the function that creates only one event. So we can trigger it here, generate one event, and then along the way, we may need this function for other functionality. So it will be good from now to leave it ready. I want to have also some pop-ups, some modals that let me know if an event was created or not when I do the individual creation, or when I do the multiple creation, let me know how many events were created, or if it didn't create any event. Also, I would like to delete all events. Just let me show you my calendar. So I have a lot of events created from our tests. Change this to here. If you come from the last video, you'll see that I created them in January of 2021. So I have here a lot of events created, so it would be good if I could take the calendar and delete all the events in a particular set of dates. Then I would like to delete one event, as here I'm only setting this up to creating, but it would be good to have also the possibility of deleting one event or multiple events, and to edit one event or multiple events. Also, in the future, I would like to select my calendar. Maybe I could have here a drop down where I could select from all my calendars. And then we could add at the end some validations. So it won't let me create events in the past or in some block dates, and that it would check if I have an event already created in the same hour, and won't let me create two events in the same slot or in the same hours. And maybe then we can do some tinkering with the formats, with the colors, with adding more features to our events and all that. We're going to start here. We're going to create one event. Let's go to our script. So I only have two functions, two global variables or constants, one function that creates the multiple events, and one function that creates my menu. I'm going to format this. I'm going to add a new script, and I'm going to call these functions or secondary functions. I don't know. These are not my main functions, so I could have a bit more of order here. It doesn't matter if I have 2 or 20 files, GS files, it will still run them all. Then I will give it Ctrl+Shift+S to save them at the same time. The second thing I want to do is to create an event creation function. Here I have all this code. I may clean this up a bit. I'm going to create my create event function. And I'm going to paste almost all this code from all that is inside this for until here. Paste it down here. So now we need to know what arguments should I pass on to this function. I need my spreadsheet. Then I need this I that I can rename as row maybe. This is a global variable, so it doesn't matter, and the calendar is also a global constant. I think that's it. I think I don't need anything more. And actually I think these two we could also leave them as global. And in this for, then the only thing I have to do is call this create event. Actually, wouldn't even need this SS because I have it as a global, and the only thing I would need to send to this function is the row. Here the row is this variable I, so that's it. I could even remove these brackets, because I only have one command in my for, but I'm going to add more commands in this video, so I'm going to leave it like it is. And then I could copy this function to our secondary functions. And I can save all my files, and we can have a test run. Let's go to July to test. I have one of each, then I should have two of each. I forgot to change I here for row. The last thing. And then I could play test run again this create multiple events function. Let's see. I think we only have 3 or 4 events not checked. So let's go here, and as you can see, it created one here and one here. So it's working. Okay, so the first thing, after rearranging my function a bit, I'm going to create a new function. Create one event, or create event in the current row. Now that I already have my create event function, the only thing I need is a row, and what I want is the current row where the user is standing. So what I'm going to do is go to my SS, my spreadsheet, and we could do this with various methods, with get current cell, with get active cell, with get active range. Let's do it with get current cell. And then I don't want the cell, I want the row where they're standing. So get row, and let's call this active row. And we're going to call our create event with our active row. And that's it. You see why this function is very useful for adding functionalities. So let's say, again, as I have here my conditional, I brought my conditional, my if, to here, then it will only create if this is not checked. So let's uncheck everything. And we're going to stand maybe in this one. Pivot tables. This is the 6th of July. So here, this has two events created. And we're going to run our current row event. Let's see. Here it created it, and here it created it. We can add also to our menu creation this other function. I'm going to add another add item here below, and we're going to create this generate event from the current row. Our create event current row. Let's select this and put it inside quotation marks. That's it. Let's run our menu creation, and here we have two functions: generate all events and generate event from the current row. I have it here. Now I can add a bit more information to the user. Whether it created one event or created multiple events, it would be nice to know if it was able to create it or not. But how do I know if it created it or not? What I can do is have this create event return a variable if it was successful or not. How can I know that? Well, there are two ways. The first way is if this was not checked, the code will come through this if and do all this. But even that won't tell me if it created it or not. So what I can do is this calendar create event, put it inside a JavaScript function that is called try. Try will let me know if it's kind of a callback function that lets me know if there was an error with my commands or if it was able to do it. So I'm going to add this inside my try. And then try comes with two other sibling methods. Catch, that lets me know if there was a mistake and what to do when there's a mistake. And finally, that lets me know if it was successful. So here I can say finally. And then in this finally, I can do first this event created, put it here, and then we can return, let's say, a text string that says successful. I don't know. Okay, whatever. So now that I have a return, but what I can do here is I could save whatever it returned to a constant or a variable. Let's call this, and we can then add a conditional saying that if creation status is successful, then we're going to add a message. How do we add messages? We add them with this spreadsheet app.getUI. Actually, we've already used this in this menu creation, this getUI. So we can, given that we're going to use it constantly, we can have a global constant called UI, and then we can use it during our code. For example, here I can replace this by UI or user interface, and here, once our creation status is successful, we can say UI dot, I forgot to put the parentheses. Then we can, from the UI, we can call some methods from our user interface. Here we have the create menu we've already used. Now we're going to use this alert. Alert only needs one argument, and it's the message that we're going to alert. So here I can say the event was successfully created. And if not, else you can do UI alert. The event was already created, or the event was not created. And that's it. Let's save. And let's stand here and generate one event. The event was successfully created. We checked it here, and it created, what's it called? Sending emails with Google Sheets. It created it here. And let's try to create it again. The event was not created. In the future, we can go further and say that in this create event, if it doesn't come through here, through this if, we can have an else. So it returns a different status that says that already created. So we can have much more information for the user, because the event was not created for one of two reasons. One, because it was already created, and second, because in this try, maybe there was an error with this command, and it wasn't able to create it. So maybe there was an error. So we could go deeper into reasons or into information for the user. But for now, I think that's enough. I want to do the same for the create multiple events, but I don't want an alert for each event. I just want one alert at the end that lets me know if the events were created and how many. So what I can do is have a constant called, it could be the same, creation status. That is whatever this function returned. And then I can have conditional similar to this one. But what I'm going to do once the condition, if it is successful, then I'm not going to alert anything, but to add to a counter. So here we're going to declare a counter and start it with 0. And if it's successful, we're going to add 1 to this counter. And that's it. And at the end, we're going to alert how many events were created. You successfully created this count. Let's change this variable to a more telling one. Call these events created. You successfully created these many events. But first, this cannot be a constant. This should be a variable. because we're going to constantly be changing it here. So here's not events duration, but events created. Save it. We're going to test run it again, and it should say that it created 4 events. Perfect. What happens if we run it again? It said you created 0 events, so I don't like that message. So we could change it a bit and add another conditional here, that if events created is greater than 0, then we'll have this, and if not, then we have another message. And there were no events to create. Let's run it one last time. Perfect. Okay, we're moving on. Now I want to delete all the events because I want to do more tests with creating, editing, deleting, and this is very annoying to have all these events. So I want to have a function that deletes all the events from my calendar, and then I should here remove this event status. Actually, I'm going to change this. So I don't want this to be a checkbox anymore. I'm going to go to data validation and remove the validation. Because here there may be more status than just 2. I could have event modified, event deleted, or more. I'm going to leave it like this, and when I delete the event, you will say events deleted or event deleted, just to have a bit more information, to know that I once created it in the past and I have deleted it. So we're going to create this function, delete all events. The way I delete all events, or the way we're going to do it, is the calendar service has a method that gets events from a starting date to an ending date. So we're going to get all these events. This is an array of events, and then we're going to go event by event, deleting them. So we're going to have an event constant that will be, we already have our calendar that we chose here above all our functions. Here is fixed, but in the future we could change it. In the calendar we can have this get events, but the get events need a starting time and an ending time. So I could have a starting date. We're going to have 2 variables that we're going to define later, and an ending date. Now let's go for a starting date and our ending date. So this could be arbitrary. For example, if I know I'm creating events in 2021, so I could put my starting date in the January 1st, 2021, and the last date will be December 31st, but you can change this as you need. So our starting date will be a new date. We can add a date with a year, a month, and a date. So I'm going to say 2021. Our month will be 0 because this month argument starts with 0, so January is 0, and then from the 1st, the ending date, to make it easier, could be 2022 0 1. So that's it. Let us log our events. To save, select delete all events and run. So it selected all these almost 30 events. Now I know that this is an array of events. So knowing that it's an array, we can use this for each function. That is a function for arrays, or a method for arrays that goes element by element of this array, and we can do something to each element. So let's call each of our elements event, because each element actually is an event object, and then we're going to do something to this event. This something will be deleted with the delete event method, and that's it. Then we can finally, we can here change this event created with event deleted or event eliminated. So you can say SS. This is like a cop-out. where I'm going to just select, knowing that I deleted all the events, I'm just going to select all this column, all this range, and change this for event delete. So it starts on the row 2, column 5, or get range, row 2, column 5, up until the last row it finds, -1 because of this header. So it will be SS get last row -1, and we're going to set just one value because we're going to change all this range just to one value, that is event deleted. That's it. One other thing, now that we're changing these UI alerts, it would be good to also know how many events were deleted. The thing is that different from this function create event, that is a function we created so we could add all these conditionals and return whatever we want, this delete event, I cannot access it. So this is when this try and finally may be of use, because I could have this event delete event inside a try, and if it's successful, if it may delete it, then I could add a counter like we did here. So I'm going to create a new variable, call it events deleted, again 0, and then here I'm going to add some brackets, and we're going to include this event delete event inside a try, and if it's successful, then I could add 1 to these events deleted, and at the end I could have an alert that says how many events were deleted. Again, I'm not an expert in this try finally, so maybe I'm doing something wrong. Please just let me know in the comments. But I think that this will work. The last thing I'm going to do is to add this to our menu. Here. And select all these inside quotations. And before I can add a separator, just to separate the functionalities of our different functions. That's it. We're going to save, to run first our menu creation. Here I have already, I could put this a basket list. Again, it looks good, and let's run it. You successfully deleted 40 events. Let's see here in our calendar, this should disappear. Give it 1 minute. Perfect. So we are advancing. We have a couple more functions, and this is getting better each time, but I think the video has run long now. Let's see what we could do. We did 4 new functionalities, and we'll leave the rest for another video. So thank you so much. As always, you'll find the template in my Patreon page, and if you like this kind of videos, you can subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much, and see you next time.